Everyone, welcome back to Breslov Efrat, Baruch Hashem Yirtzira David. And today we're going to learn our Likutey Halochos. We're going to continue with Siyata Deshmaya. We're in Halochos Tzitzit, Halacha Gimel, and today we're going to do letter Yud Aleph. So everyone, Freilich and Chanukah Sameach to all our listeners, everywhere. So just we are in middle of this idea of what Tzitzit is, what the beauty and the power that Tzitzit really has, that most people don't really understand. They know Tzitzit is important, Tzitzit is this, but we're learning many ideas of Tzitzit, how it's based on the first lesson in Likutey Moran Tinyana, Aleph that we went on. I'm just going to go review a little bit, where the Rebbe says over there that we have to take control of Malachim. We can control the angels. We have to control angels. That's our job. How do you control angels? So the Rebbe brought over there, he said that he brought the Medrash with Moshe Rabbeinu when he went up to Shemayim. And the Malachim said, Ma Yuladisha Beinenu, what's he doing over here? Moshe Rabbeinu was scared, again, whatever that means, that the Malachim were going to burn him. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, grab onto my Kisei HaKavod. Grab onto the Kisei HaKavod, you'll be okay. So the Rebbe taught us, we're learning in Tzitzit, that Tzitzit is really connected to the Kisei HaKavod. How is Tzitzit connected to the Kisei HaKavod? Tzitzit, there are four corners. The four legs of the Kisei HaKavod are supported by Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and David. Those are the four legs of the Kisei HaKavod. Unbelievable. What's our connection to the Kisei HaKavod? Every Yiddish neshama comes mitachas Kisei HaKavod. So that's our connection. Every time we have our tzitzis is tchelet. Tchelet, we learned, is tachlis. I look at my tzitzis and it reminds me, it jogs my memory, gives me a jolt. I remember, what is my purpose in this world? What am I doing here? What am I doing here? How do I do that? Then we learned based on we learned the idea of the eye, of our eyes. Our eyes have three colors and the pupil of the eye, right? The bas ayin. The three colors of the eyes are connected. Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Also the shalosh regalim. David HaMelech is the bas ayin. David HaMelech is Tefillah. David HaMelech is Malchus. It's all-encompassing. David HaMelech is Malchus. It's all-encompassing. The same way you have the spheres. You have Chesed, Gvura, Tveres, Netzach, Yesod, and Malchus. Malchus encompasses all the spheres. It's the lowest, but it also encompasses all. So we learned that the same way you can't have the Shalosh Regalim, where we had Aliyas Haregel. We went to the Beis HaMikdash to have the das, to find the das. We had the das. We saw the Rebbeinu Shalom. Ein Oid Milvado. We recognized. We saw the greatness of the Rebbeinu Shalom there. And that set us into idea that we have to daven and to recognize that the Yeshua is not going to come via government. It's not going to come via people. It's only from Hashem. We only have to rely on the Rebbeinu Shalom. And that's where we were. And then we were learning yesterday. That was just a little recap. So then we were learning yesterday that while we was talking about Tzitzit, in the Parsha Tzitzit we have Yetzias Mitzrayim, right? We also have Yetzias Mitzrayim in Tzitzit, and why? Because we were learning this idea that the Rebbeinu Shalom is Mekayimai Shel Olam, Ve'ena Olam Mekayimai, right? The Rebbeinu Shalom is the world, and it's not that he's in the world; he is the world. So anytime that we find that we're in a constriction, min ha'meitzar karasi kala, we just said in the Halo, min ha'meitzar karasi ka. When I'm in a place of confinement, constriction, and I call out to the Rebbeinu Shalom that could take me out of my makom, I'm stuck in a place, I'm grounded, I'm stuck somewhere. And when I'm in my place, I can't get out. I'm just wallowing in that place. But when I connect to the Rebbeinu Shalom, what I'm doing is I'm connecting to that place of Mekayimai Shalom, Ve'ena Olam Mekayimai. and I get lifted up. The same when we went out of Mitzrayim, he gave us the example that we went from Ramses to Sukkot. We did that in one day, which was 120 mil. Again, how could millions of people travel with flocks 120 mil, which let's say it's 120 miles for argument's sake. I don't know exact measurement of what it is, but it's a long distance. It's unfathomable that such a multitude of people can travel such a distance. So he said yesterday, that's what we have. The Rebbe said that'll lift us up, al kanfei neshorim, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu lifted us up. Took us out of the makom. We were in the place, so he kind of lifted us and brought us to that other place. That's where we were. So now, the way Reb Nosson always does is, whenever you're talking about, now that we got into this idea of Yetzias Mitzrayim. So now with that we also have Sphira. So now how does Sphira work with that? That's what the beauty of Reb Nosson. He'll really show us the beauty of all the mitzvahs, and show you how all mitzvahs are really connected to other mitzvahs. So if a person will say to you, well, tzitzis doesn't, I don't know, why do I have to wear my tzitzis? If I don't wear a four-cornered garment, why do I need it for? Hey, buddy, do you know that tzitzis is Yetzias Mitzrayim? It's connected to the Shalosh Regalim. Tzitzis is connected to David HaMelech, Malchus, Beis HaMikdash. Do you know that tzitzis is connected to the Sphere? So, oh, really? It's all those things? Oh, I better wear my tzitzis. And this is Reb Nosson. This is how Reb Nosson always does it. So let's see now. Zeh bechinas sfiras omer. Shemevi'en omer sa'orim tekef b'yom sheni shel Pesach. It's a very strange thing, right? On Pesach, we bring in omer sa'orim, right? Which is really like animal food, right? Sa'orim is not really, it's like barley. What is it? Omer sa'orim is like barley, right? Okay, we eat barley today, but really barley is not a choice food for humans. It's more for animals. But we bring it specifically then. And then after that, we count the 7 weeks, 49. We go through 7 weeks of Shabbos, which is 49 days. Kedei Lotzeis. And we know that we're trying to, each day of Sphira, what are we doing? We're counting, we're withdrawing from one level of Tumah, and we're raising up one level. Each day we're shedding off a level of impurity, and we're raising up. And that's what the whole idea of the Sphira is. Ki anofas ha'ayim esa'ayim b'chol shisha kitzavos. Right, so when the kohen would bring the carbon iron, he would do a waving. He would wave it in the 6 directions, the 4 corners, like we have the tzitzis, and up and down. Right, when we say Kriya Shema, right, so we're supposed to have in mind the 4 directions, and we're supposed to have in mind up and down, right, and Shemayim and Aretz, right. And a lot of people move their head around, they go up and down, they do it. There's all different ideas to references, but this is the idea to show that the Rabbeinu Shalom is really everything. It's all the Rabbeinu Shalom. Zeh bechinas shemalin umekashrin bechinas hamokaim bechinas shisha kitzavos laHashem Yisbarach. I'm taking the 6 the directions, and I'm being mekash. I'm joining it back. I'm bringing it back. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, He made tzimtzum. Right, the whole idea was the Chol Laponi was HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a voided space. He took His light out. He took His light out in order to make creation. Why? Bechira. Hashem wants Bechira. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light was so bright, there would be no Bechira. We would know what it is. We wouldn't make mistakes. Like if you see a bus coming, you're not going to walk in front of the bus. Right? There's a bus coming down the road. You're not going to walk in front of the bus because I see the bus. But if you didn't see the bus, I may walk there, right? But HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants Bechira. We have to find the Rebbeinu Shalom. I always like to say is Hashem made the game of hide go seek. You know that game, hide, go seek, right? When we were kids, we used to love that game, right? Hide, go seek, right? Then when you finally go, so that's such a big simcha, right? You got the guy, wow, that was great. I don't know about him, but when you caught him, that was a great simcha, right? No, so that's, the Rebbeinu Shalom wants us to find him. That's what he wants us. He wants us to, but then it's not like the game, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is full of joy when we actually find. When we actually find HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the darkness, we can pull him out. We find HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the darkness. So that's what it's all about. In other words, he put us in this place, but then when we make the reference and we keep it, and that's what the Beis HaMikdash was so important, because it kept teaching us these things. It's all Hashem. It's all the Rebbeinu Shalom. This is the whole idea of Hanukkah. It's mamish all connected, right? What was Hanukkah? The Syrian Greeks came and they tried to give us something new. What was the new thing that they wanted? You have to be smart. You have to do, and you need sports, and you need all kind of things, right? That's what their whole thing was, right? They say that unfortunately they left the Beis HaMikdash and they were out in the gymnasium and they were doing what. But what?
No, they built in the Bet HaMikdash, the gymnasium in the Arabite, I think.
I don't know. No, I don't know about that. Okay, listen. Let's not go. In other words, the whole idea was, and that's why that's the whole nace that we saw, that we found that little pach shemen that was munach mechais meshel kohen gadol. We saw that. We reminded ourselves, wow, the kohen gadol, wow, the oimes sa'orim, the four corners. Wow, what is this? It's all Hashem. What are we doing here? We're wasting our time. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing with these Greeks? What are we doing? And that's what gave us the boost to come back. Unbelievable. And then we learned the idea. We were learning the whole idea of in Torah Reish Pei Beis in Likutey Moharan, right? You have to danas everyone the kav schus, right? And then we were learning the idea of 2 days ago this beautiful concept that how could you ever judge al tadnas chavercha ad shetigila makai mai? How can you come to a person's place? But the Rebbeinu Shalom can judge. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Mekayimei Shalom. He's included in that. He understands. He's the Baal HaRachamim. He's the Rak because he knows the circumstances that person found himself in. He knows the circumstances that why the person is reacting to the way the person's reacting. Why? Because he understands the person. He put him in that situation. But we look at somebody on the outside, how can we judge them? We have no idea what's going on in their life because we can't understand their makom. But we said when we take our tzitzit and we can connect back to the Kisei HaKavod, and we can leave and we can become part of the Mekayimei Shalom. We can become part of that. So then we can now judge in a favorable way also because I understand it's Hashem. I understand that this person's doing this because Hashem wants him to do it. Perhaps he's only doing it so I should see him do that so then I can judge him. And will I judge him favorably or not? You ever think of that? Person is doing something and I saw it. Why did Hashem have me see that? Perhaps it was my test. It was really my test, not him. It was my test. So when I can look at my tzitzis and I can remember the Rebbeinu, I say, well, look at, hey, listen, I don't understand it, but I'm sure there's a reason for it. He's a good guy. And then we learned the idea, right, in Hashkama Zabayka, we learned the idea when you judge somebody favorably, if you judge them favorably, you can actually exonerate them from their din. Because you could bring upon them goodness. You could bring upon them to have a schus. And you don't have to bring upon them the chayim. Unbelievable what we can do, just us. And how do we do it? Based on this idea, this concept. The Oyim Yisrael was waved in the 6th. Remember it's Hashem. Kindlech, remember it's Hashem. Now look what he says now. Ki Yisraelim zeh b'chinas hatzimtzum shel kol adinim. The idea of Sa'ayrim, this barley, is tzimtzum. It's very, very coarse. Barley is a very coarse thing. It's very magushim. It's very, so anytime we said anything is very magushim, there's a lot of dinim in there. There's a lot of dinim because the Rebbeinu Shalom is hidden from there. Kamu b'ksavim in the Pri Eitz Chaim. Okay. V'zeh b'chinas oyim esayim loshen mida utzimsim. Oyim esayim is a loshen of mida, measure, right? What's mida? Measure, right? Mida is a measure. With tzimtzum and constriction. He took a certain measure of it. He didn't just take as much. There was a certain amount that he used. It was a mida, it was a tzimtzum, and he used that. So he was mitzamtzim the din and waving the din to the 6 directions in order to bring tikkun to the din. You understand? That's the idea we learned about mokin. Shu bechinas tzimtzum. Vayidei anafas oimes oirim b'chol shisha kitzavois bebeis hamigdash. I did it where in the base hamigdash, the place of das. The place of the das, you saw the das. What's das? Einoid milvadei. You saw the hashgacha pratis. It was all the Rebbeinu. It was all saw. That was the place. When you wanted to see hashgacha pratis, you went there. You saw it. Right? We had all the needs that happened over there. Right? With there was no flies. How's it possible to understand? We have so many flies. Right? And how is it possible to understand there was so many animals and blood and there was no flies? And the fire went always burning night. Unbelievable, all the things, all the beautiful nisim that there were. Look at the Mizbeach HaKetayris, right? The Mizbeach HaKetayris was a thin layer of gold. Thin layer of gold, a wood box, and they burnt the Ketayris on it every day. It always looked perfect. How? There's a fire on it. Gold is very soft. Gold will, no. It stayed perfect. All these things we recognize, that we saw the greatness of Hashem. We don't have it now, unfortunately. But we will. Hold on. Any moment. Excuse me. Okay. I can now bind and I could raise up from the market, raise up from the din. The makim ki bechinas shisha kitzavais as kol hatzimtzumim lebechinas lemalam in a makim. Then this is the secret. Anytime we find ourselves in a din, we find something going on. If we take out our tzitzis and we recognize Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, David, which is connected to the Kisei HaKavod. I can be oiches on the Kisei HaKavod the same way HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe Rabbeinu, don't be scared, grab onto the Kisei HaKavod. He's telling all of us the same thing. Don't be scared, grab onto it. And use, what do? Use it through the tzitzis. And we learned, you weren't here, but we learned the idea that you put on the tzitzis right away in the morning. Early in the morning, right? The first thing, you wash your hands and you put on your tzitzis. Why put on right away? To remind us in the day, so the day should go good. We learned also that children, what's the first thing we put on a child? We put on a child when he's 3 years old, we put him on his tzitzis. Why? It's to set him on the right direction. To set him on that right direction, to understand the situation. Okay, now. Kizeh bechinas kol maasei karbonas, shaya bebeis hamikdash. All the ma'asim, all the karbonas, all the beautiful karbonas. Ki abeis hamikdash hu bechinas muat machzik es hamaruba. This is the concept that we were learning. That this is based on the Tzipori Maisias, the 13th story, which is the 7 beggars, based on the 5th day in the story, which was the hunchback. And the hunchback said, it's a whole story. Did you ever read the story? Okay, so the hunchback was day 5. And he said, I'm not really hunchback. I'm not really disabled like all the other ones said. I'm not blind. I'm not deaf. And okay, but he said, why? Because I have a lot on my shoulders. I'm a person that's carrying a lot. Muat machzik es maruba. So they have this concept that's muat machzik es maruba. Sheshorsha b'chinas l'malam min hamokim. To take me out of my place. How can you ever do things? How can things get done in this world? How can you accomplish things when you leave your makom? If you're stuck in the place, you can't get things done. You got to be l'malam in a makom. How do you get out of the makom? You have to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? When we stand, we know that in the Beis HaMikdash, we were standing there, but when we had to be mishtach, there was plenty of space. There was a lot of space. Where'd it come from? Right? We know that Eretz Yisrael is compared like a deer skin, Rashi tells us, right? When it needs to expand, it expands. A deer skin, you can stretch it out. It won't tear. It'll stretch, right? The skin will just keep stretching. You could stretch it. Eretz Yisrael is the same idea, the Beis HaMikdash. Same idea. V'loy amar adam lechaverei tzar li hamokim shalom Yerushalayim. We didn't say, hey, what are you doing? There's not going to be enough. No, we recognize, I'm going to go down, I'm going to be kairim mishtachavin now because I know there's going to be place. We recognized it, we understood it. But it didn't make sense. We were standing there squished. And then when Kairos said, whoa, we have a lot of unbelievable. It would have been unbelievable to see that, to experience that. Ki Eretz Yisrael v'Yerushalayim Beis HaMikdash, Kodesh Kadoshim, Shesham Kol HaEser Kedushas. We know there are 10 levels of Kedusha. So you have in Eretz Yisrael, Yerushalayim and Beis HaMikdash, and Kodesh Kodshim encompasses all the 10 Kedushas, right? You know anything about that? You want to talk about that for a minute? The 10 Kedushas of Eretz Yisrael?
9 in Yerushalayim.
Exactly. Exactly. Heim semuchim b'yoyse lebechinas lamalam and amakim. They are so close. B'yoyse lebechinas lamalam and amakim. All these places, they're so close to the Rebbeinu Shalom. And we learned that really the Rebbeinu Shalom only chooses. Really, what does the Rebbeinu Shalom have anything to do with any of these places? He chooses to pick these places to show the Shekhinah more in those places. It's only because that's what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants. So that's why we can have a little place, but you can have a little place, but it can hold so much. It can be it can grow. It can be more. There's no such a place of constriction in Yerushalayim. I always think about this, mamish, when you go down those streets, you're riding the car, and the streets are so, Ein Mokem Tsar B'Yerushalayim, and you just go through. Wow. Beis Hamikdash shekodesh b'yoser shamaya b'yoser muad machzik. Again, the higher the level of kedusha, the more of this was the muad machzik esamaruba. There's a beautiful teaching from Rav Kook. He has an amazing idea. We always wanted to ask ourselves, why is, if Eretz Yisrael is so important, why is Eretz Yisrael so small? And then he says, there are like places like China and Russia, right? They're huge, right? Russia is huge. China is huge, right? These places are huge. But Eretz Yisrael is so tiny. So he explains amazing. He says everything, it's all an example of a triangle. How does a triangle work? A triangle works that there's a wide bottom and it goes up to a point, right? Everything in this world that's big, in Shemayim is very small. The point is up there. It's big down here, but when it goes up to the point in Shemayim, it's very, 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 very small, very little. But Eretz Yisrael is the other way around. Eretz Yisrael is huge in Shemayim, and that's why it's only a small piece over here. And that's this idea of machzik esamaruba. But really it's very big, and that's where it comes from. So you can make Eretz Yisrael bigger when you understand that in Shemayim, Eretz Yisrael is, wow. So you were just borrowing from that place to expand Eretz Yisrael. Reb Nassan also wrote in Likutey Halochos, he wrote in Hilchos Beis HaMedrash, Beis HaKnesses, Beis Medrash, that this wonderful concept. When we know that when Mashiach is going to come, all the Batei Midrashim from all over the world is going to come and be part of Eretz Yisrael, right? We all know that. So he says, how's that going to work? How are they going to go work? Are they going to pick them up and they're going to go? He says, no, it's very simple. All the land that's in between all of these Batei Midrashim is useless. It's nothing. It's just going to disappear. So they're all just going to come closer to each other. They're just all going to come closer to each other. And all the other land will come back, and then they'll just all rearrange themselves because all the other land will just disappear. Unbelievable. Again, mu'at machzik esamaruba. When it has to be bigger, it'll be bigger. When it has to be smaller, it'll get smaller. Fascinating concept. Bechinas Eindens, okay, stark mir welcome. Okay, Ubein Shnei Badei Aaron, Haya Oid Yosef Bechinas Muak Machsa Gesamaruba. We had the Aaron HaKaid, right? The Aaron. It was a small box, right? It was a small little box, right? And it had the bottom, the sticks that were on it, and it stuck through the pareiches, right? It stuck through the pareiches. Unbelievable. Over there, that was the highest level of kedusha. So that's where we had the most muad machzik meruba was over there, because that's the highest level of kedusha. Ki kol Yisrael amdu bein shnei badei Aaron k'meisha b'seinu zala pasik kaishay heina perish Rashi. What does that mean? Tzimtzam es kulam bein shnei badei Aaron. We were all able somehow to stand. Rashi explains we were all able to stand somehow in Yeshua between these two bottom. How do we understand that? How can we ever understand? Muad machzik esamaruba. It doesn't matter. It makes no sense, because again, when you're in Makkah says I can only fit this in this place. But if I'm l'malam in a Makkah, wait, l'malam in a Makkah is expansive. It's as much as I need. So if I understand that the bein abadim is l'malam in a Makkah, it's not Makkah. Yeah, because in Makkah it's a small measurement. It won't work. But if I lift myself up l'malam in a Makkah, then we can all fit there. It's no problem. Because we're not what? Yeah, we're not in the play. We're not stuck in we're not stuck in a place. In a room, you can only put so many people. But if you're out of the room, you can have as many people as you want. That's the idea. That's the concept. L'malam and amokeh. Because the Rebbeinu Shalom is unlimited, right? Our Kadosh Baruch Hu is unlimited, right? So here's when we can connect ourselves to the Rebbeinu Shalom. And how can we do this? All through tzitzis. Through our tzitzis. Who would have ever thought? You could connect the Beis HaMikdash, Bein Abadim. We could connect all these things, all these ideas, concept of Muad Machzik and Zamruba, all without tzitzis. Fascinating, right? This is one of the places, and this is why Rav Nosson is choosing this lesson to teach us this concept of Muad Machzik and Meruba. And we should always remember that this concept, that whenever we have any kind of trouble we're going through, Chas v'shalom, any yid should go through any problems. But if a yid finds himself in any kind of thing, just to remember, I'm only in this place because I'm stuck. I'm stuck here. I don't have to stay stuck here. I can lift myself out of this mess. How do I lift myself out of this mess? I can use my tzitzis to remind me to connect to the Rebbeinu Shalom. You don't need your tzitzis. You could be anything to connect to the Rebbeinu Shalom. But we're learning in the aspect of tzitzis to use the tzitzis. Look at the tzitzis. Look at the tzitzis to remind me to get away from the shalish, the three main taivas that we said, which is taivas mammon, taivas achila, taivas mishkol, to get me away, because those are those three things that really get me stuck and grounded in the world mostly. And I could use my tzitzis because it says, and we learned just, I'll tell you one thing. How can you remember all the mitzvahs of Hashem when you look at your tzitzis? How many strings are on your tzitzis? 32. 8 times 4, 32. What's the gematria? Leiv. 32 is Leiv. What's Leiv? What's the last letter in the Torah? Leine Kol Yisrael. Last letter in the Torah is a Lamed. What's the first letter in the Torah? Beis. Leiv. So when I look at my tzitzis and I'm holding them all, that's why we gather our tzitzis together. We learned yesterday. What does that mean? When I put my tzitzis all together, the same way HaKadosh Baruch Hu can take 700. We learned this beautiful idea. On each corner you can have 700. 700. I was thinking when we were learning this, a plane, each plane, how many people can a plane hold? Almost 700 maybe, right? Some planes can, they can hold, sure. The jumbo jets, they hold. I think they held more. Really? Yeah, and they're making these new planes. I know Airbus is making a plane that I think can even hold 900 people. You look it up. They're making a plane that can even hold more people. More people. But when we take our tzitzis, listen to this. Each corner, I can be grabbing in 700 people that are non-affiliated. I can have in mind, as I'm taking the 4 tzitzis, I want to get I want 700 people. I want to help 700 people. 2,800 people I want to bring back. Each time when I pick up my tzitzis, every time I do that, I want to bring back 2,800 people. Have that in mind, all with the tzitzis. Everyone have a gevaldik Erev Shabbos, and it's Shabbos Rish Chodesh, and it's Chanukah. Just one thing I want to tell you is this, that it's Badik and Menusa from the Tzaddikim, that any time that we have a situation that we open the Aron Kodesh, we take out 3 Sifrei Torah. That's a mamish and eitz ratzon. That is a mamish and eitz ratzon. It's badik and menusa. Anything you need, any yeshuas you need, you could have in mind during that time when that Sefer Torah, when that Aron Kodesh is open and the 3 Sifrei Torah are coming out, you can have in mind it's mamish. The heavens are ripped open. Why? 3 Sifrei Torah. It's unusual. So take that in mind. Use the time. Shkayach everyone, kol tuv.